There's a generation you barely hear from. They don't argue online. They don't announce their wins. They don't explain themselves. But they quietly run companies, fix crises, and keep families together. The reason they're so silent is the same reason they're so resilient. We talk endlessly about boomers and millennials. We dissect Gen Z like it's a brand new experiment. But Generation X, born roughly between 1965 and 1980, just exists in the middle. Uncelebrated, underestimated, misunderstood. They're your older coworkers who never complain. Your parents who seem oddly detached. The people who helped build the internet and then decided not to live on it. And psychologically, they might be the most misunderstood generations still alive. Imagine it's 1979. You're 8 years old. You walk home from school to an empty house. No smartphones, no Ring cameras, no text messages asking if you're safe. You let yourself in. You do your homework alone, and you wait. According to the American Journal of Orthopsychiatry, around 7 million children aged 5 to 13 were regularly unsupervised after school by 1984. That's not a parenting style. That's an entire generation learning something very early. No one is coming. That empty house didn't just create independence. When their parents finally got home, the rules were clear. Fast, firm, unemotional. Nobody asked how you felt. You stepped out of line and you paid for it immediately. Psychologists call this a high-contingency environment, where actions and outcomes are tightly linked with no buffer. Your brain learns to predict consequences in real time. That's why Gen X thinks 3 steps ahead in ways that confuse younger generations. They're not anxious, they're rehearsed. They also grew up watching something quietly shatter. They watched people give decades to companies only to be laid off without warning. They were told, work hard, follow the rules, life will reward you. And then the rules changed right in front of them. Psychologists might call it defensive pessimism. Gen X just calls it realism. They hope for the best, but they expect the rug to be pulled out, because historically, it usually was. That's why they built emotional armor instead of optimism. This is also why you barely hear from them on social media. They grew up when privacy wasn't a luxury, it was normal. When you messed up as a kid, maybe 5 people knew, and then it was over. No screenshots, no viral clips, no permanent digital record. So the idea of broadcasting your life to strangers doesn't feel exciting to them. It feels dangerous. This isn't about not understanding technology. It's about learning early that visibility equals vulnerability. The less people know about you, the safer you are. Despite everything, Gen X developed one of the strongest work ethics we've ever seen. They don't talk about it. They don't post about it. They just do the work. Paper routes at dawn, bagging groceries, fast food jobs where you had to calculate change in your head when the machine broke. These weren't resume builders. They were responsibility drills. They watched company loyalty collapse, so they never trusted institutions. But they became fiercely loyal to competence. They can't control layoffs, but they can control being indispensable when they happen. Their relationship with authority is simple. They respect skill, not titles. Earn your position and they'll follow you anywhere. Fake it and they're done. Research in the Journal of Adult Development shows Gen Xers seek less social support during stress. Not because they don't have people, but because asking feels like failure. They're excellent in crises, calm, capable, but that competence often comes from never learning how to lean. Generation X might be the last generation that truly knows what it means to be alone with your thoughts, to be bored, to figure things out without Googling the answer, to fix what's broken with your hands. They're not better than other generations. just shaped by a strange moment in history when the old world was dying and the new one hadn't arrived yet. They're the bridge generation, and bridges don't get applause. They just hold everything together, quietly, expecting nothing in return. And honestly, that might be the most Gen X thing of all. This channel exists for people who feel deeply and think carefully about the human mind. If you want to continue these quiet conversations, you're welcome to subscribe. I will see you in the next video.